Welcome back. So, before we do anything, we're going to mention the giveaway at the start this week because last week forgot to mention it till right at the end. And if you didn't make it to the end, we'll start with what's wrong with you because this is just gold. But if you didn't, we are doing a bit of a giveaway. So, every single month, we're going to do a giveaway of, we said like a tub of protein or an Amazon voucher or something like that.
Something training related,
Something training related for people that are watching these videos, enjoying these videos. So all you need to do, you can enter as many times as you want through the month, but just share the video onto your socials, onto your Instagram, put the link on there, tag us both in it, make sure you follow us, and every time you do that, we'll put your name into the draw. And at the end of the month, we're going to do a bit of a roulette wheel thing draw that you see that they all do.
Throw your name out.
And we'll, I think you've done giveaways before, so you'll know what you're doing. I've not done them before.
You
so
can just pop everyone's name into like an online thing and it's around.
I'll let you sort it. If you don't win, speak to Jake, not me. It's not my fault. It's his fault. But yeah, make sure you do that. Tag us in it. Put it on your stories, followers, all that jazz.
All that kind of stuff.
And good luck. But yeah, this week, managing expectations.
Yes. So I think managing expectations regarding diet, right?
Regarding diet,
right,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We'll just stick to diet. I think we haven't got enough time to cover everything.
But yeah, so I think managing expectations, because when people start a diet, start coaching, start a kind of fitness journey in general, I think you start off and you're so excited, you're so motivated, you've been out, you've brought your new gym gear, you've got your protein, you've got your new gym bag, and it's like, yes, I'm in there, buzzing. I've done it as well. Yeah, you get a new logbook, everything's ready to go, and you think, right, couple of weeks, we're in fucking great shape. This is it now. And I think obviously a part of our job, a massive part of our job, especially with our new clients, is managing those expectations. Because obviously you want people to be excited because it is exciting and they are going to get amazing results, but it's understanding the time frames, what's going to happen, how you're going to feel. There's so much to take into consideration. And I don't think that people always realise that.
No, I mean, how I had this last week. How nice is it when you're on a call with someone who's inquiring about coaching and you're giving them the details, and they'll say to you, I want to lose X weight or I want to get into shape because I've got an event next year. And they're literally like, so I had one last week and he has a wedding, I think I could be wrong, I think he said like next June-ish time. And he was like, is that enough time? And I was literally like, that is beautiful. That is amazing. I was like, that is like music to our ears, because a lot of the time it's the other way around where it's literally like, yeah, so I've got a holiday in 4 weeks, so what do you think we could do? And it's like, no, it's like, you probably should have messaged me about 12 weeks ago.
And I'm not going to lie, I've had a couple of guys sign up recently who have done that exact thing. And listen, they've signed up and we spoke about it at the time. I said, listen, that's a great little mini goal and we can have a proper push towards it.
That'll be a stepping stone.
It's a stepping stone. You're not going to, you're not going to achieve everything you want within the next 4 or 5 weeks, but it doesn't mean we can't use that as an initial motivator, and it can,
100%.
It can really kind of fuel the fire, I suppose, and
Yeah.
it gives you an insight into what potentially might be a possibility. But yeah, definitely, you're 100% right. If you come in and you think, actually, I've got something going on next summer, we've then got the ability to go, okay, wicked. We can break this down into phases. We can look at building some muscle, dropping some body fat here. We can go to maintenance here. We can really play around with it and make sure that you have done it properly and you look amazing and you feel amazing.
Yeah, because that is the biggest stumbling block that people have, and I know I've certainly come across from a coaching point of view, even my own diet point of view, is time. Like, not giving yourself enough time. You need to give yourself more time than you think, like always.
I spoke to a few of my clients about this because I think they were quite intrigued by the first episode or the second episode we did where we were talking about our own diets.
Right.
And I asked you how long you were dieting for your photo shoot.
27 weeks.
You said 27 weeks.
5 weeks in, so I've got 22 to go.
Yeah. And again, I think that, looking on the outside, you guys clearly in decent shape anyway. You're a coach. You haven't, I'm not going to pay you too many more compliments, but but you are, and I think that they were like, wow, he's a coach and he's good, 27 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think it was really good for people to hear though, because people still have those kind of short time frames in their head of like, oh, I can, 6 weeks, great.
Yeah.
And it's, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So
it's literally that, and sort of lay out with people, the average rate of fat loss generally is going to be sort of 0.5 to 1% a week. You might get a bit more in the first few weeks, maybe the first month. If you've got a lot of water weight coming off, you might see a bit more. And if you really want to go aggressive, you could potentially push it up to 2 for a short time. But generally, it's going to even out at 0.5% to 1% a week. So depending on what you want to get to, if you're wanting to lose 10, 15 kilos, whatever it is, like it's going to take a long time for that to do that. And then on top of that, I always say at least add on an extra 4 weeks because you don't know what's going to come up through that time. Whether you want to take diet breaks, whether you have holidays come up, events come up, anything like that, like add on an extra few weeks because it's going to take a long time.
Yeah, and a good example is, so if someone, for people listening, someone was 100 kilograms, and we're talking about 0.5 to 1%. Let's say 1% because, you know, I think that's realistic for most people. So 100 kilograms, want to lose 10 kilograms, you're then saying, okay, well, 10 weeks of dieting. But that's if nothing's going on. That's if nothing goes wrong. That's if you don't get ill. That's if, you know, you don't have a social event to take into consideration. So that's 10 weeks if everything's bang on.
Yeah.
So then, like you say, add on those additional 4, which I'd say is a minimum, really.
Yeah.
You're now at 14 weeks, 10 kilograms. You know, and the chances are you probably need to go past 10 kilograms, but that initial kind of diet phase. So that's it. I just think it's a good example. People can visualize, right? Well, actually, that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah. And it's like, so I had a check-in at the start of this week with a client, and she's been doing really, really well. But as an example of like how a week can just go wrong without it even being your fault sometimes. She started off the first couple of days really well. Then I think on the third day she ended up something with work, like pushed the whole day back by like 3 or 4 hours, and she was stressed and she couldn't get time to eat. And then she got home in the evening, she was starving. She ended up having a bit more food. The next day she went shopping. Then there was some sort of car crash and she was stuck in a car for like 3 or 4 hours without any food. Same thing happened again. And then at the weekend she had plans come away. She had to take people to and from places. Again, she didn't have any time for food. And very quickly the week became not a bad week, but certainly not the week we'd planned for when we start. And it's like, okay, well, that's near enough a full week that we've lost in terms of she'd stayed in the same spot, which is still great. It's still progress. She'd not gone backwards, but it's still a week now that we need to add on if we want to still get to that end goal. And like, that can happen really easily.
I had a really good check-in yesterday with a guy, and for the last couple of weeks he's had lots going on. He works in quite a high up job, and he's all over the place with work and things. We have to take that into consideration. And on top of that, he's had a couple of socials. He had a week away with the family. I think he was then down south for a couple of days. So it's been full on for him. And I said, listen, if we come through this period and maintaining, like, you're standing still, that's progress. Don't see that as going backwards. And I think that's another thing a lot of people see, staying still, kind of maintaining when you've got, especially when you've got a lot going on, you've got things to contend with, as not progressing. And I'm like, no, that's just as good as losing body fat. And so again, taking that rate of loss, you know, expectations, you've got to understand. And again, myself as an example, right? I'm dieting at the moment. I've got, ideally, I want the end of August, I want to be in the position that I plan to be in. But over the last kind of 3 weeks, Istanbul last weekend before.
Beers and kebabs were helping.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a lot of beers and a lot of kebabs. And then the weekend before was a wedding. And again, that was fairly heavy. But I knew, and I planned in with my coach. I said, June is, I called it a write-off. It's not a write-off. I just said, if we make it through June,
that's good.
Being where I am, it's my birthday, it's my partner's birthday.
Yeah.
It's my brother-in-law's birthday. It's just like, it's the busiest month of the year. Every single year, and it's ridiculous. But I also want to enjoy it. So I was like, if we get through this month in the same position that I started it, still training, obviously, and maybe seeing some progression with my performance in the gym. So there's still progress. But in terms of like body fat percentages, body weight, I'll be fucking buzzing.
Yeah.
And that'll be progress, you know, because that's a month where you could very easily go backwards. So again, taking that into consideration, I knew that at the start. So I added that month onto my diet time.
Yeah, makes sense. Like it is just, and that's again part of the reason why mine's 27 weeks or whatever it is. It's not because that was a specific amount of time. It's just because when we started mapping out when we were going to start, I was like, oh, by the way, I've got this stag do over a weekend. I've got another stag do. I've got another stag do. I've then got weddings for each of those stag do's. I was like, that's easily going to be a week and a half, 2 weeks in total of days where I'm going to be away from my normal routine. Not really able to track, but still able to make better choices or even just enjoy it all together. So I'm like, straight away, that's time we need to add back on, and probably a little bit more.
Exactly.
Just for anything else. So it's just about planning ahead. And I think a common question that we'll get all the time is like, what is like an average rate of fat loss when you talk about actual weight and not percentages? Because people say is a kilo a week good?
It's like fucking brilliant, mate. Well,
It's great,
but
but
it's all relevant.
it's
To the person as
relevant
well.
to the person because like I've got some clients that are like 100 kilo plus males,
Mhm.
and then I've got some that are 50 kilo females.
Yeah.
They're not going to lose weight at the same time.
I had a
Like,
check-in this week, and she's just started with me, so we're just again me managing expectations as a coach. And this week she lost 0.6 as an average.
Yeah.
I was like, that's fantastic. But in
Yeah.
her check-in, she said, "Oh, I'm disappointed. Scales aren't moving as much." I was like, "That's faster than what I'd expected it to be."
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. So again, it's just managing those expectations.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that was with a couple of meals out and things. So I was like,
Yeah.
"That's brilliant. Like we're smashing it."
Yeah, it's literally that. So like, I'll put on my stories sometimes, like if a client has a good week, and they'll be like, "Oh, 2 kilos down this week. They've done really, really well." And sometimes I'll get other clients message being like, "I haven't done that this
What
week."
are they doing?
Yeah. So and I had it where it was one client, and their message like, "Oh, I've only lost. I think it was about 0.4 kilos that week." And I was like, right, to begin with, it's not the be all and end all of what we're aiming to do scales wise. It's just an indicator.
Yeah.
I was like, they had a lot of water weight to lose, this, that, and the other. I was like, but they've also got about 40 kilos on you. Like they're a lot heavier. The person I was talking to again was a mid 50 kilo female.
Mhm.
I was like, you've lost 0.4 of a kilo this week. I was like, that's nearly still 1% of your body weight. Not only that, it was during the time of the month for her where we know generally she tends to hold a bit more water. She's got a few more cravings, energy's a bit down because for females they have it harder. Like without a doubt, there's no argument about it. Like different weeks of the month will affect what their weight's doing, what their physique's doing, what their strength's doing, energy, hunger, all these kind of things. And I know you do the same. Make the point of saying like don't compare your weight week to week because it's going to be completely different. Compare your weight month to month, so you'll compare your average weight of month one, week one of your cycle, for example, to month two, week one of your cycle. You wouldn't compare month one, week one to month one, week two, because depending on where you're at in your cycle, it's going to be completely different. So all these things can just massively, massively affect your average rate of weight loss or whatever it is that you're looking for. But at the end of the day, it's just like, if it's coming down, if we can see in the mirror that you are looking leaner, if your clothes are fitting better, if you're feeling better, if you're noticing differences when you're training, like a little bit more definition in your bicep or like a bit of striation on your shoulder, or you can see your lat or whatever it is, like, cool. We're happy.
That's progress.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's why we don't just use scale weight.
Yeah.
And pictures are probably more important, measurements, all that kind of stuff.
I think the reason why we pitch it a lot more on socials being like so and so has lost 2 kilos is because that's what the majority of people will deem as progress.
And they'll
So
relate
it's
to it
on,
more.
yeah, it's more relatable. Whereas if we were to sit here all the time and be like, weight's not important and never mention it, it's hard to get the message across of how well some people are doing.
Yeah.
Whereas we know weight's not the most important thing, but if we can say, okay, it's not the most important thing, but these people have been losing this amount following this with this help, it is a little bit more relatable of, okay, well, maybe I can do that then if I've got a certain weight goal in my mind that I want
And I
to
think
lose.
our clients understand that. So when we share their progress,
Yeah,
they understand that we're doing it because it's more related to people on social media, but they know that actually.
but 90% of the conversations is when we're actually in coaching and you'll get a text like, oh my God, my weight's gone up like half a kilo this morning. And my response is always, did you do anything different yesterday? Like, no.
Have you had a shit?
But it's literally like, sometimes, but it's literally like, have you stuck to the plan yesterday? Yep. Nothing different at all? No. And your weight's gone up half a kilo? Yep. It's like, cool. Don't worry about it. Carry on. It'll come back down. And mine's done it this morning, so as a quite well timed actually this morning, mine dropped down to 76.4 or something. So I was down like 1.5 kilos on average this past week. Every day for the past 4 or 5 days, it's been 76.4. This morning, it was like 76.9 or something.
I think you mentioned that's quite a regular thing with you, haven't you?
Regular, it'll drop, it'll stay consistently low, then it'll come back up, and then it'll have like an even bigger drop, and it just does this. And I even still have this, like, we'd be lying if we said we didn't. Like, it went up this morning, and your initial response is, oh, fuck's sake, because you want to see it go down, but then straight away you're like, well, logically, I've not done anything different. I'm not going to stop losing body fat. I know this is how my body tends to work when it comes to fat loss. So all I know that means is I can expect to see a big drop in the next couple of days.
And you know it's coming.
Yeah.
You know it's coming. But again, that's years and years of us understanding how.
Yeah, it's
things
literally
fit.
just a case of, all right, cool.
And
It's
again,
not this
that
morning.
comes down to our
crack on.
job of managing people's expectations when it
Yeah.
comes to seeing those trends.
Yeah.
And quite often, with a lot of my clients, we'll see a spike over the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's not because they've gone over the calories necessarily, but
Yeah.
maybe they've had a refeed day or 2 refeed days or whatever we planned in. And those refeed days might mean a meal out, which might mean more salt, which might mean more carbohydrates,
Yeah.
which there's nothing wrong with. They just hold more water.
Yeah.
So often, although they've stuck to everything exactly as planned, they might be heavier on a Monday.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, give it till Wednesday, you'll be back to where you were.
I had that actually with I had a client for like 2 years and who lost. I think he lost like over 20 kilos. Like he really, really, really did really well. But every single Monday, no matter how well the week went, every Monday his weight went up by a significant amount.
I think a lot of it's stress as well.
And that's exactly what I was going to say because he never changed the plan on the weekend. No matter what we did, stuck to the plan. Every single Monday his weight went up. And after a while, we figured out it was literally just every sort of Sunday night, Monday morning, he was stressed out about another week at work, overwhelmed about what he knew he had to be going on. And that was just what was causing a little bit of water retention, a little bit of weight gain on the Monday morning. By Wednesday, it was
Sleep
down.
quality's not as good, etc., etc.
And it was literally just that. So it was literally a case of, okay, well, we'll try and help reduce your stress on the weekend, but generally, this is just what your body's going to do for as long as you're going to be in. I don't even think he's in the same job anymore, but for as long as you're going to be in that role, don't worry about it. Don't let it stress you out more. Just crack on because we know, but by Wednesday you'll probably hit a new low. And it's fine.
And I think a lot of this stems from dieting culture because again, weight loss clubs, all that kind of shit. Going back, people used to. Everything was based on weight loss, and it was a certain amount. And the thing that was so stupid about that, looking back, is because people still say, "Oh, I'm aiming to lose 2 pounds a week," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, that's fine, but is it relevant to you?" So I think everyone was labelled with the same amount of weight loss, regardless of how big or small you were. So I think that it's happened over time. It's a mindset that's built over time through the way that the world's worked for 20 years. And hopefully it's changing now. And hopefully people are starting to realise there's more education and knowledge online and things. But
yeah, and I think the other, like, in terms of managing expectations, the other thing to realise is that, like, from an actual physical change point of thing, and I think we've mentioned this before, like, you're not going to see a great deal of difference in the first 5 or 6 weeks. No. You will see some difference, obviously, but like, so I put up a post yesterday, which was literally my check-in pictures from when I started to like 2 days ago. So 5 weeks of difference. And you put them side by side, and you can tell there's a bit of difference there. I think I'm down like 4.5 kilos in total.
That kind of thing.
But there's not really any substantial difference, and there is a big part, like that first sort of, and again, it's slightly different for everyone, but that first generally 6 to 8 week block, all you're essentially doing is setting up your routine, setting up your habits, building that momentum, building that consistency. And weight will come down quicker first, generally, in those first 6 to 8 weeks. And then you will hit a point where you'll start seeing more physique change week on week on week after that certain point. And it is, again, the leaner you get, the more change you do tend to see as you get leaner and leaner and leaner. But there is almost like a switch sometimes, isn't there, where it goes quick weight loss to begin with, slower physical change, and then it'll almost start to flip and be like slightly slower weight loss, but much quicker physical change.
Exactly.
And you've just got to keep going.
And I say to my clients, why do I have to send you pictures then? Because it will happen. It will happen. So keep sending pictures. Really, really important. Because one, I want you to get into the habit of doing that for a start. But secondly, we'll just hit a place where it'll be like, say, week 6, week 7, and we'll go, boom, there's the changes starting to happen in. And sometimes I remember even when I did my photo shoot last year, it was more like towards the back in the last couple of weeks, it just fucking, like, the penny dropped, and I was like, Jesus Christ, like, my pictures just changed like that, like crazy. But for a good while, for the first couple of months, I didn't really see any change at all, despite my weight coming down, my training improving, my diet being better. Yes, I was lighter on the scales. Yes, my measurements are coming, but pictures took a while.
They do.
And they do.
And then all of a sudden, like you say, you'll just see a big change. Yeah. And it just starts rolling and rolling in.
Yeah. And I think that's, again, managing expectations. It's knowing that, you're going to see the scales come down initially. You might see your measurements come down. It's great. It motivates you, like, it really does, because you're like, okay, this shit is working and we're moving in the right direction. But we have to then say, well, this is what we expect to see. But your pictures, just, the way that you look aesthetically, give it a little bit longer and it will come in. And it might be, the funniest thing about that is, and people still stress about it, it might be that when weight loss stalls or slows down, what pictures start changing.
Yeah.
And people stress, and I'm like, you look better.
Yeah.
Why are you worried about scales now?
Yeah. I've even had that. I've had a few coaches message me recently just being like, can I just get your opinion? I've got this client. We've been working together for I don't know how long. His measurements have come down massively. Their pictures are massively different, but for whatever reason, their weight's just not budging. But they look totally different. They sent me like the comparison pictures and completely, and this has happened with 2 or 3 different people. they were like, what do I need to do? Because the weight's not coming down and they're freaking out. And I was literally just like, nothing. Like, try and get it across to them that doesn't matter. And actually, that's probably a good thing because they're probably gaining a decent amount of muscle tissue. Maybe not at the same rate they're losing body fat if they're losing it that quickly. But for whatever reason, weight's doing its own thing. And that just happens with some people, and that's fine. And it is a hard mental barrier to get over. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
when especially when you are someone like who isn't a coach, who's just come into it, working with a coach to want to lose weight, it can be a hard mental barrier to not see those scales go down. But like I said to them, he's tons leaner. Measurements have come in. He's happy with how he's looking. He said he's feeling stronger. He's got more energy.
Clothes are fitting better.
Yeah.
All that
Cool.
kind of stuff. More confident.
Yeah, you don't need to do anything. Just
Yeah.
keep going.
And then it will just, again, the penny will drop somewhere.
Yeah,
down the
because certainly with blokes, you can then spin it around on them and say, okay, well, let's say hypothetically, would you rather be 80 kilos and lean or 90 kilos and lean? Every single bloke's going to go 90 kilos and lean.
Yeah.
Every bloke who's interested in training, 90
Yeah.
kilos and lean. It's like, all right, cool. Well, that's the one looks like we're aiming towards anyway. And then like, all right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need someone to break it down for you logically like that.
Yeah.
Because trying to do it yourself, you think emotionally, not logically.
Yeah.
So that's why sometimes, and even with, like, for example, coaches asking us questions, asking you questions, that's probably because they're emotionally involved in that client as well. So sometimes having a third eye look over it for them.
Yeah.
Because you do get
definitely.
emotionally involved with your
Yeah.
clients. Like, your clients become your mates and, like, you're rooting for them to do so well.
Mm.
But sometimes listen, you generally think logically, but every now and again you can question yourself.
Yeah.
So it's nice to get that kind of second opinion, I suppose. But
Yeah. I think that covers it,
yeah,
to be fair. Expectations.
So hopefully
Give yourself more time.
More time. If you need a coach, there's one over here.
Yeah, give Jake a go, and then you can come to me for
proper
what
coach.
coaching actually looks like. Yeah. So yeah, all that usual stuff. Like, subscribe, give us
follow,
a reason to keep doing this. 'Cause
Subscribe.
it's a nice day out for me more than anything else.
Get to come down to Manchester, mate.
Do you know, I've never spent really any time in Manchester. It's one of the only. It's not one of the only cities I don't know my way around, but it's the only one where I generally am pretty good with directions and I can navigate around pretty well. Manchester, I don't know whether it's just because I've spent like no time here. It all just looks the same to me. I have no idea whether I'm in the centre or whether I'm in the outskirts.
We are pretty
or
much
where
in
I
the
am.
centre here. This is in the northern quarter, but it's
Yeah.
a cool city. Where we are, this area right now is a cool
Yeah,
area. Loads
yeah.
of like cool food places and things.
But I enjoy the day out.
Yeah, and you get
Change of scenery from
get to see me,
the
don't you?
spare bedroom staring at
Yeah.
the laptop. with washing drying behind me. So.
I know. So like where my office is, we've got like some drawers behind, and for whatever reason, we've got drawers in our actual bedroom. This is in my office. Louise keeps her stuff, like some underwear and stuff in there. So I've been on that check-in, so she's like, grab some underwear. I'm actually working here. Do you know? Like, you don't realise.
I was on a call the other day and I tilted the laptop just slightly so that the two areas full of underwear and clothes that were drying was out of view. And the person I was on the call was like, oh, excuse the mess in the background. There was literally like a t-shirt on the sofa behind him. And I literally was just like, yeah, don't worry about it. Turn the screen, there's like...
I just blur my background.
Yeah, areas of underwear, there's my drum kit, there's bags on the floor. I was like, oh, just forget about
It's all
that.
good.
Yeah.
What you don't realise is like you can see your top half. He's actually sat there with
Yeah.
just
Just
a t-shirt.
Can't put that out. Can't sell it. We'll have to edit that bit out.
Right. I think that covers that.
Yeah, see you next week.
Cheers, guys.
And if you found that video useful, then go ahead and click on this one right here for some more answers to your fitness problems.